Welcome to Voice of Stories. Discover tales that inspire, captivate, and bring words to life. Subscribe for unforgettable stories.
Emma Stewart stood nervously in Principal Harris's grand office, with its mahogany desk, certificates on the walls, and windows overlooking the pristine lawns of Wellington Private Academy. It was only 3 months into her job, and she was already in trouble. Principal Harris's voice oozed with superiority. "Miss Stewart, while your enthusiasm for teaching is commendable, you need to understand Wellington's unique standards." Emma straightened. "With all due respect, Principal Harris, I was hired to teach all students, not to ignore bullying." The principal's lips tightened. "Let's get this straight. You humiliated Bradley Reynolds, one of our benefactor's sons, after he poured milk over a scholarship student. That was unprofessional." Emma's voice trembled with anger. "That girl was crying. No one helped her." Principal Harris interrupted. "She's here on scholarship, Miss Stewart. Those scholarships exist because of families like the Reynolds. Remember that." "So they're allowed to mistreat others?" Emma asked, her cheeks burning. Principal Harris stood, her voice icy. 3 months probation, no bonus this quarter. And next time, Miss Stewart, think twice before acting like a hero." Emma walked out feeling a mix of frustration and defeat. Outside, she leaned against the wall, watching the students in their neat uniforms. Wellington had seemed like a dream, an elite, well-funded school. But the reality of privilege and power was hard to ignore. The incident. Earlier that day, Emma had been on cafeteria duty when she noticed Bradley Reynolds, the son of a wealthy family, eyeing Sarah Martinez, a first-grade scholarship student. As Sarah passed his table, Bradley sneered, "Nice shoes, scholarship girl. Did you get them at Walmart?" Sarah blushed, trying to hurry past, but Bradley wasn't finished. He picked up a milk carton, then poured it over her head, laughing as she stood there, dripping in milk, embarrassed and teary-eyed. Something snapped inside Emma. Before she could think twice, she grabbed her own milk carton and poured it over Bradley's head in a perfectly graceful arc. The cafeteria fell silent as Bradley stood there, milk dripping down his face, frozen in shock. "I'm so sorry, Bradley," she said sweetly, sarcasm dripping from her voice. "I must have tripped." Bradley's face turned red with anger. "My father will hear about this," he shouted. Emma replied calmly, "Go ahead, and maybe he'll hear that bullying has consequences." She then took Sarah by the hand and walked her out of the cafeteria, helping her get cleaned up. A chance meeting. That afternoon, Emma decided to take a walk in the park to clear her head. She didn't expect to hear laughter, the cold, mocking kind that made her stop in her tracks. Around the corner, she saw a group of teenagers tossing bills into the pond. A young girl was wading in, desperately trying to collect the money, shivering from the cold water. "Get it, beggar," one of the boys sneered. Emma's anger boiled. She approached them, helping the girl out of the water and wrapping her jacket around her shoulders. "What do you think you're doing?" she demanded, her voice shaking with fury. "Relax, lady," one of the boys sneered. "It's just a joke." At that moment, a deep voice cut through the tension. "Is there a problem here?" It was Marcus Reynolds, Bradley's father, dressed in a sharp suit, his expression unreadable. "No problem, sir. Just showing this beggar some economics," the tallest boy said, forcing a smile. Marcus's gaze was sharp. "Interesting. I'm meeting with your father tomorrow about his company's merger proposal. I'm sure he'd love to know about this." The boy's confidence crumbled. Marcus's voice hardened. "Apologize to this girl, retrieve every dollar from that pond, and leave." Now, Emma watched as the teenagers waded into the cold water, humbled, collecting the money they'd thrown. The girl relaxed slightly against Emma, wide-eyed with gratitude. Marcus turned to Emma, his expression softer. "Miss Stewart, I think we should talk about today's incident with Bradley. But first, let's get this young lady somewhere warm." Emma hesitated, looking at Bradley, who was silent and subdued. She finally nodded. "Sure, my apartment's nearby." New understanding. At Emma's modest apartment, Marcus glanced around without a hint of judgment. Bradley sat quietly on the edge of her sofa, clearly thinking hard about what he'd just witnessed. Emma helped the girl, whose name was Penny, into a fresh set of clothes and handed her a warm mug of cocoa. As Penny sipped, Emma gently asked, "Why were you trying to get that money, Penny?" Penny explained that her father, a former carpenter, had lost himself to alcohol after her mother's passing. Her stepmother was abusive, spending the family's money on alcohol instead of things Penny needed, like a school uniform. Emma's heart ached as she listened. Marcus's expression turned grave. He stepped away to make a call, arranging help for Penny and her family. When he returned, he looked at Emma and said softly, "Thank you for today, Miss Stewart. You showed me something important about standing up to others, even when it's difficult." Bradley, seated quietly, finally spoke. "I'm sorry, Miss Stewart. I didn't think about what I did to Sarah or to Penny." Emma smiled gently. "It's never too late to make things right, Bradley." Change at Wellington. In the weeks that followed, Emma saw changes ripple through Wellington Academy. Bradley began sitting with Sarah at lunch, helping her with schoolwork and keeping other kids from teasing her. Principal Harris watched the transformation with a mixture of surprise and confusion, especially as Marcus Reynolds's black SUV now often appeared in the school parking lot. Sometimes he and Emma would discuss Wellington's scholarship program and ways to expand it. During a parent-teacher meeting, Marcus stood up to address the group. "Wellington has always prided itself on excellence," he said, looking around the room. "But true excellence isn't just about grades, it's about character. And sometimes it takes a brave teacher to remind us of that." There were whispers as he continued. "That's why I'm pleased to announce the new Wellington Community Bridge program, which will double our scholarship slots, provide school supplies, and more." Emma felt tears prick her eyes as Marcus reached over, taking her hand with a smile. A new chapter. A year later, Emma stood on Wellington's front steps, watching students arrive. One hand rested on her growing belly, and a smile spread across her face as she noticed the new, more inclusive student body. Among them, Penny rushed up, proudly showing off her new school supplies, and Bradley called out to a group of friends, his former arrogance replaced with newfound kindness. Marcus appeared beside Emma, slipping an arm around her waist. "Quite a change from last year," he said with a smile. Emma nodded, her heart full. It's amazing what a little courage and a spilled milk carton can accomplish. With a final glance at her students, Emma followed Marcus inside, ready to continue building a better Wellington, one small act of bravery at a time.